rec sports they're gone. And, I don't want to have this be too much of a soapbox of how I wish they were back, but it's like a lot of those athletes you're talking about are rec league players. And there is no shame in being a rec league player. There were so many rec sports that I played. I played rec league basketball when I couldn't hack it anymore, and I loved it. It was so fun, and I really got into those games. But like the lack of rec opportunities is pushing everybody. Okay, I can't do this rec ball anymore. Now I have to play travel sports if I want to play in my off season. But again, travel sports has been monetized, and all of a sudden we've got kids who just really want to play the game and just be a part of something. In Louisville, they have to travel to Fort Lauderdale to go play a tournament. That because it's owned by the same venture capitalists who own the club. And it's like, I don't know that I have a great solution for that. I mean, for me as a parent, that's probably a hard lesson learned. And then maybe you're switching the club because at that level, I think about this with the public school system too. I grew up in public schools in Chicago, and my family always wants to talk about that stuff when we get back together. But it's like regardless of who's managing everything, the teacher in a public school is what makes your experience. If you have the best teacher, you can be in the worst public school, but that will be the best year you've ever had. I think youth sports are the same thing. It's like, oh, I have to play for that club name. But then it's like, if you don't get the right coach in that club, your experience is going to be terrible.
Right.
On the flip side, there's some clubs that don't have the notoriety, but have some great coaches at different levels. And that'll be the best club experience you've ever had. So that's hard. You don't always know who the coach is going to be or who that is. But if you can start to find that and find coaches that, care and they learn and they grow throughout the year with your players, that's more important than if we're traveling to Fort Lauderdale to play a 3-day tournament and staying in a stay to play hotel and all that
Yeah.
stuff. It's, again, I wish I had solutions. It's like the wheel is turning. So at some point you do have to kind of accept it for what it is. But man, it's in volleyball, especially for all the volleyball parents that are listening, I feel their pain. There's some silly things going on in youth sports. There just is.
It's every sport, unfortunately. And like, even for the top tier girls who are playing for you, like their club fees might be getting paid, but
I don't know
the,
that many of ours had. I do think that that's rare. But I do know that is out there. Yeah. Maybe there's
even,
a discount or a scholarship. I don't know.
all right, let's just assume that all the club fees are paid though. There's still the travel to get there. There's still the hotel. Like the club's not paying for those things more often than not. And so like you could have all of your club fees paid, but to get mom and dad and little brother down to Fort Lauderdale for the tournament, you're either paying for the flights or you're paying for the gas. Like,
Yeah.
so regardless, it's such a hard spot. And the video that blew this entire thing up was me talking about the death of Rec League. So I am
Oh, really?
right. Yeah. It hit like a week after I started the first episode, I did this video on the death of Rec League and it got 6 million views on Instagram. And I grew
It
by
should
like,
get 6 million more because I 100% agree with you. And we spend a lot of time as coaches. Joe Trinzi is the guy. He's a really good volleyball mind. I was talking to him a month ago, and we had this conversation because he puts out some really high level volleyball stuff. And these coaches, we're learning about the game and how do I do this. And a lot of times he goes, man, the longer I'll go with a question about how to solve something, a lot of times it comes back to, and again, this is no shame on anybody, but it's like we're not really dealing with athletes that need to have this solution. They're probably more of a rec league kid and they've been swallowed up in travel sports. And it's like, so again, we're trying to solve these problems for, oh God, how do we get them to do this and all that? And it's like, you know what? The level is probably off a little bit, and so is the commitment. So yeah, man, I'm right on board with you on rec league sports. Maybe there's a market for venture capitalists to start rec league sports, or like, just provide,
well,
like, if
I
you're
mean,
going to take over travel, can you just open the facilities for rec league sports to come back or something?
ESPN is currently in a $5 million campaign with Positive Coaching Alliance to what they're calling it Bring Back Sports. And it's all about like having more rec league opportunities for kids. And like they've put together grants for cities and all these things because everyone who has been in this understands that like pushing kids to travel is not healthy. Financially, it's not healthy. Socially, it's not healthy. Athletically, there are kids who will play travel, who probably should play travel at some point. I would argue not till middle school, but that's a whole different conversation. Most kids who play sports play it to play with their friends.
Yes.
The data shows us that like there was a psychologist, I think it was, who wanted to find out what does fun mean in sports? Because the number one reason kids quit sports by the time they're 13 is because it's no longer fun for them. So she wanted to find out what is fun. So she did this huge survey of a ton of kids. Winning came in 48th. Winning was the 48th most
That is the
important thing to
greatest stat of
kids.
all time. I love
And
that.
there's so many
What
people.
was first?
I
Was it
don't
being
remember
with their
exactly what's
friends?
first, but like being with their friends, trying new things, giving their best effort. Those type of things were the ones that were much higher than winning. And it's the adults in the room who think it's only about winning, that kids care so much about winning.
Yeah.
Most kids, elementary and below, they want to win, sure. But the second they get the joyride over at the concession stand, or they get a prime or whatever, they forgot if they won or lost. Most kids, there are some kids that are different, but most kids, once the game is over, and as adults, we look back to it and we say that it's more important than it actually was. But especially that elementary age, they just want to play with their friends. Like I interviewed Bobby Muse, who's the head coach for Wake Forest soccer, and he coaches his 9-year-old son's rec league team. And we like, so I live 20 minutes from Wake Forest. So the league my daughter's in plays on the same fields as the team, fields that Bobby's kid's playing on. So I asked my 8-year-old, I was like, hey, if we could get you on Coach Muse's team, would you want to go? Or would you want to stay here and play in our town with your friends? I want to play with my friends.
Play with my friends. Yeah.
Because he's 8.
I
Like
love that.
that's what matters the most to kids is having fun playing with their friends. And for some reason, we have thought that the highest levels of competition at 8 years old is what's important.